Hello, this is Let's Talk Sports. We have a guest, Mr. As Blue as It Gets. Please introduce yourself.
Hey man, what's up? It's the boy. Blue as it gets here, representing man. Long time friend here, my boy Biggie. That's what I call him. Y'all know him as something else, but maybe y'all come to know him in more intimate terms like me as we do this thing here. I mean, so we're gonna get to it though.
All right, let's get it. Let's talk Team USA. Team USA beat Australia by 6 points, only 6 points. Now they had a couple of roster shakeups. Kawhi Leonard went home, sent home. Who knows? Who cares? He was replaced by Derek White. Notably on this team is not Kawhi Leonard, who's an all-star, and Jaylen Brown, who just won the Finals MVP. Do you think the roster changes will hurt or help the team going forward?
Well, I mean, the team itself, to me, from what I looked at, I ain't gonna lie and say I'm like all in it, but the team I seen, they look kind of stacked right now. So I don't think Kawhi really changes what they got going, man. For me, we're the best in the world. We're supposed to be, even though you got Giannis and stuff like that, man, different countries. But we supposed to represent here in the United States. So the team itself, man, even without Kawhi, I think they should be winners, championship winners. I don't know, but they should be able to do their thing. Yeah,
I agree. I
definitely.
do think that Kawhi wouldn't make much of a difference. Kawhi didn't play much in the regular season. So, I mean, what's the point of paying him to go overseas and for him to play 2 games or 3 games? He was already injured last season. KD's also already injured. I think some of the older players needed to get a full offseason rest. I don't understand what they're doing. They didn't make it through the whole season with KD to the Suns and Kawhi for the Clippers. So I don't know why you would then
Well, that's yeah.
extend
Ain't
yourself.
no, all of them broke up, man, on
Yeah,
that
so I was
team,
like, I
man.
don't
They
know why
all
you would
old,
extend
broke
yourself.
up, man.
But
Yeah.
they signed up so
No
that
disrespect, of course. No
yeah,
disrespect.
yeah, but I do think they need to have a team with Kyrie and Jaylen Brown just won the Finals MVP. Whatever the personal issues that they have with Nike or with Team USA, I think they definitely should be on the roster. But this is just an exhibition game. Exhibition games, people might not take it as serious. Everybody might not play up to their 100% potential. But I think it's concerning when the team, structured as it is, it's not like they can go out and get somebody better. The team is who it is right now.
Well,
Um,
that's that. I guess that's the question, right? Is where you think that roster is weak at? I mean, if they got like Anthony Davis, right? They got as far as they big men, they got Embiid, man. LeBron can play any position.
I mean, they have the names out there.
I
They have
just don't.
Curry, they have Edwards, they have the names. That's the thing. Is like if someone gets
Better,
too
yo,
you
man. Like,
go.
come on now. I
Um,
won't be hearing this that you can't defend stuff. I
that's
won't be hearing
as
that you
long
can't
as they can play
defend.
defense, I think they'll have enough points. They have enough, obviously, veteran leadership. My concern has only been injuries. All these guys have been injured, especially the older guys. Curry
Mhm.
in and out the lineup here and there, but most of the big Joel just came off
Hey,
the
they got. Yeah, I feel you. I mean, they got the youngest thing on there, man. Right now is like your Booker,
Booker's
Edwards,
Edwards
man.
on
Of
there. They got
course,
the young boys out
Halliburton,
there.
maybe. Like yeah, Halliburton definitely. You know what I'm saying? Tatum, of course,
Booker, yeah.
and yeah, everybody else is just a grizzled veteran, man. From
Yeah.
there,
Veterans.
my guy probably there if I had to be there. Be Drew Holiday, man. He's probably the guy that's gonna
Yeah. He got to take over
you
some
know,
games.
really be that difference maker, man, for when the older guys are off the court because he's Curry, of course. Hopefully, man. I
Understanding.
see this team as winners, man. They got ballers. They got ballers. They got the coach. You got Eric Spoelstra as a coach. Yeah. Kerr as the head coach. Okay. That's what them, Kerr and Spoelstra and the roster they got. No disrespect to Tyronn Lue and Mark Few here. Yeah, man, I don't see why this team shouldn't be meddling. I'll say that, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be
Yeah.
meddling.
They got to be gold, but I mean, at least they get one of the three. They got to get one of the top three. But without having those two, Jaylen Brown and Kyrie, if they don't win gold, that's going to be a question: is why those guys who are available and wanted to play, why they couldn't get a spot. But moving on, this is about LeBron's son. LeBron's son was drafted by the
Ronnie, man.
Lakers by number 55 pick, and he's struggling in the summer league. He went 6 for 26 in the first 3 games. But the summer league to me is about improving. Do you feel like this is good for him to be playing and struggling right now, or do you think they should probably shut him down and just have him work privately to getting better?
Well, man, I think like I think you know how I take it, man, is like, you know, the media, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then we're doing this right here, trying to do our own little thing here, representing the stuff, man. Boys, blues, it gets. Boy Biggie right here, Biggie knows ball, is what I got going for him right now. You know what I'm saying? The media, man, they're gonna treat these guys however they need to treat them, you know, to pump out the ad revenue and the dollars they need to make. Right. So as far as with Bronny, man, I think people who might watch him a little bit more already understand he's not LeBron, you know what I mean? No disrespect stuff. And LeBron understands the type of player he is, but Bronny's gonna be his own player, man. And you know, if he's out there working because he want to be out there working, he not hurt, you know, he's improving and staying healthy and getting stronger, then there's no reason to like hide him away. You feel me? I mean, it just I guess there's a lot of expectations that's come for him, man. He gotta kind of carry with himself to try to be, you know, the best player ever to get talked about. But yeah, the summer league I think is good for these guys to get out there. You know, I'm a Knicks fan, but I remember when Kevin Knox was in and the G League stuff and for a while and summer camps. And so with NBA players, it takes time. It might be 5 years, 6 years before Bronny is really that player he's supposed to be, you know, out there. So I got no problem when I'm out there. I don't think sitting him is a good option. No.
But that was the whole point of summer league, is for you to get better. You only get better at playing. You don't get better in practice. You don't get better, playing, pickup games, here and there. You
Yeah.
really have to play against high level talent. And not just Bronny, there's other guys that were drafted that have to get better too. It doesn't matter whether you're number 1 or number 57, you still have to play, you have to get better. I think the issue is it's so much pressure because people think, LeBron has to win a championship before he retires. He just signed a 2-year deal, but the Lakers are not positioned to win a championship. No one they drafted can help them win a championship. The Lakers have to win via trades. They have to be able to get maybe say Dame Lillard or Kyrie Irving. We're just naming guys. They have to be able to trade anything, but they haven't been able to find a trade partner because no one wants to make a dance with them. LeBron hasn't been able to team up with someone who wants to play with him in a long time. So I don't think the Lakers will
Really
be
though?
able to get better. The Lakers won't be able to get better. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs as LeBron next 2 years. I think they'll miss the playoffs both times. Again, they have to find the only person I think they have to be able to trade is Anthony Davis. I don't think LeBron's going to sign off on that. They just got a rookie head coach. They hired a whole bunch of veteran head coach to help the rookie head coach out. Lakers are designed for disaster. They're positioned for a circus, and that's what we go get. So I think it's a lot of pressure on Bronny and the number 17 pick to try to help LeBron immediately. But that's the whole purpose of summer league, for these guys to get better. But that ain't gonna get them
Yeah.
to compete for a championship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think whatever LeBron wants to sign off on, there's like a 70 to 80% chance the Lakers are gonna do, you know, what he
Right.
wants them to do. He already got his son on the team. So everything else is out the window. I mean, the coaches come when he want them to come, the coaches leave when he want them to leave. So like
And that's
you
the
know, I think
NBA. So
and not to say that like, you know, he control the whole team, man, but like as far as what the future of the Lakers is looking like for the next 2, maybe 3 seasons that LeBron is playing, that he gets to play alongside his son, you know, before Bronny really take off and become his own man in the game. Uh
and
we
LeBron's not
Knicks
doing
country over
anything
here. You
else
know
that
what I'm saying?
these other
We're
players
Knicks
are doing.
country over here. What the Lakers have going right now, I wouldn't say is what the Knicks have going right now. The Knicks have something special brewing with themselves now when they're acquiring the talent and stuff like that. And they got the cap to move, especially with Brunson signing his contract like he did. You know, yeah, the Lakers got a little test coming up, not only to win games, but to, you know, make sure that they protect the pricks that they made and the decisions they made, you know, to construct a team. I really don't know what the Lakers is
They're
going to
gonna be
be
a
or not
circus.
be, but they got LeBron James, man, and sometimes that's all that matters.
That is all that matters for them. But Lakers are signed this. They set themselves up to be a circus show. But I mean, in the West, it's going to be difficult to even compete. They're not as young as they used to be. Anthony Davis is still dealing with injuries here and there. They don't really
I
have a.
think Davis, yeah, Davis is going to be probably the along with LeBron, of course, but Davis is going to be that. Has Davis really had to carry the team since him and LeBron been together? You know, is it wrong to say that the Lakers should probably hope to get these last few years of LeBron with Davis on the team, that Davis is more
The
the quote
forefront.
unquote Batman, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, in the equation? Maybe, but we know what type of player, disrespect these guys here. Um, we understand what type of player Davis is and the psychology of his game. You know what I'm saying, like that. Where LeBron is probably that personality that's really the one that's even if he's not the front guy as a lead, he's always that main advisor, the primary advisor, the primary, you know, um,
He's running the show,
diplomat and all
calling the
that
shots,
stuff, man.
and that's that's good. But you look at these players are picking their coach and is picking their teams. Most of them that have not worked out. Giannis is on his fourth coach. He fired the coach who was in second place, and they got Doc Rivers, and they went to the basement. You look at teams like when the Nets set up for Steve Nash to take over, and they got Harden, they got all these guys, Kyrie and Ben Simmons, and it was turned into a crap show. Because when you have players who I want to play with my friends, I want to play with my buddies, I want to play with this, you still have to have GMs, you still have to have coaches, you still have to have people in positions that are not specifically relationship based, but skill based. These are the best people that will play on this team. These are the best coaches that coach this team, coach this personality. You still have to have people that can do the job that have nothing to do with just personal relationships. Nothing wrong with liking who you work with. Nothing wrong with liking, having a friend that you want to do business with, but you still have to make sure that we have to do the business correct to win games. At the end of the day, you have to win games. And the Nets didn't do it. Obviously, Giannis and those guys do it. And Lakers, they're heading towards that path once you start LeBron. LeBron controlling the thing, which nothing wrong with that. But to me, LeBron should just be a player's coach. We know you're calling the shots. Might as well be the player coach. And no need to give JJ Redick a 4-year deal.
That's with
We know
that.
he's not going to be there that long because he's going to be fired in 2 years when they miss the playoffs, 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, that might be a little of us too, man. Like, how much is LeBron really, really saying though behind closed doors? And like, how much is he really, really saying for the team to do or not do? We have an idea of what he's at least probably saying because he ain't gonna let the floor fall out of the building. But yeah, I think it's a lot of good questions there. To really, the team construction and not only just getting guys for their buddies and stuff because that don't always work out.
Really
But you do
does.
need players, man, that like each other and understand the guy next to him is out there to ball out and be a warrior out there too. So you kind of get it, man, especially when the older grizzled veteran, he's proven he knows what works. He's trying to enforce or implement what worked last time, into these future teams. It probably might not hit right the same because he's not quite the same player he was, man. But
Right.
there's certain things that you can't take from these players. That it factor, that when it's out there and they're really with other ballers, man, that stuff can get special sometimes. My favorite teams have probably been something like the Detroit Pistons, man, with Ben Wallace and Tayshaun Prince and Chauncey Billups. Back then, that's when teams were really teams, man, without having the best players at every position on the court. And that's kind of what the Knicks I feel like are building now. When you talk about that, man, like I feel like the Knicks are starting to do that a little bit more now.
End of the
Not
day, you
only
gotta
getting
have a
guys
team
who look
guy. But
cool.
I think the league has changed a lot where you have to have 2 or 3 superstars. Look at Denver. Denver did it as a team. Jokic and a whole bunch of not B-level guys, but guys that are team players. Obviously, the Spurs won the championships where they were big on team ball. Giannis did it with a whole bunch of team guys, but Boston, you had 2 superstars, Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I don't know if the Lakers, they don't obviously don't have the team, but if they can, they have to do something with trades. I don't think they have enough draft picks to help them out immediately with impact that way. But we'll see. But moving
We'll see.
on, ESPN released the top 10 quarterbacks based on
Yeah,
coaches and scouts in the NFL. The list is
we know who's not on it, man.
right. My look,
We know who's not on it.
I don't think this list is accurate, but let's see. So Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson, Stafford, Herbert, Stroud, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott.
Is there
Good old
someone
Dak.
that you think should be on this list, or just someone that you think take off this list? Who would you remove, or who would you add?
Hey man, look, no lie, I don't really have too much of a problem with who's on the list. There's maybe one player that I feel like probably shouldn't be on the list, but it's not because that player is not good or you know, a positive player right now. And for me, that'd probably be, it's tough to say, man, but probably Aaron Rodgers right now. Would probably be the one name I would remove. But if he was placed outside and replaced with another name, he wouldn't go anywhere but probably like 11. You see what I'm saying here? And then it questions in who do you add into there? And considering who's probably just out of their names, like Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence are names that are outside their list right now. So Brock Purdy is actually Brock knows. Yeah, Brock Purdy's outside that list too as well.
Brock Purdy's better than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers played full snap.
Man, it's just now. Just
Man that played full
I
snap.
think I'd have to put in. I think I'd have to put in Brock Purdy. And why I justify putting in Brock Purdy over a Jordan Love, over a Jalen Hurts, okay, is because Brock Purdy is very similar to some of the things Jalen Hurts is with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has a lot of talent around him, and he's only asked to do, set amount of things right now in the offense. Brock Purdy is surrounded by a lot of talent right now.
Right.
Brock Purdy perhaps is more of a system style QB than Jalen Hurts. He might be a little more dynamic playmaker. But I think what helps Purdy out to get into the list over Rodgers, only because Rodgers was hurt last year. Now he didn't have a great year that year in Green Bay.
Like we talking about
he didn't have a great year.
And
okay.
He's 40.
I know I had him on my fantasy team. I know he didn't have a great year. He was terrible. Okay.
He's 40 now.
Yeah, but terrible for Aaron Rodgers. I think Purdy now has played enough seasons now in the system. They pushed enough into these playoff games a couple times, even though they lost. So he's kind of established himself as a solid, maybe system style QB. But if he were placing that system style QB tier, he's at the top of that tier. He's number one in that tier right now. So Aaron Rodgers out, Brock Purdy in that top 10 list. Everybody else slides up. Dak Prescott deserves to be in there. I'm not going to hate on the Cowboys just because.
I think Jalen Hurts would make my list. I definitely would take Aaron Rodgers out. I like Justin Herbert, but I also like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I think a lot of times he's just on a bad team, and a lot of the way the quarterback teams, his quarterback contracts are is like you get incentive to sign with the team you're already on. I think Trevor Lawrence should have left years ago. Jacksonville, they keep reloading and reloading, but going nowhere. Trevor Lawrence would be better if he was playing, like I said, Dallas, or if he had the Miami roster, he would have been way better off, I'm assuming, offensively or just with wins. But I don't think he's able to do that with Jacksonville Jaguars for whatever reason, whether it's coaching or the defense or game management, play calling, whatever. I just think, but I definitely wouldn't have Aaron Rodgers there. I would definitely have Jalen Hurts there. But speaking of quarterbacks, you brought up Tua. There's three quarterbacks that are one is in a walking boot. Dak is in a walking boot dancing. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, season starts in about 2 months, and there's three quarterbacks on paper right now. If there's no contract extensions, they'll be playing their last year. That's Dak Prescott, Tua for the Dolphins, and Jordan Love. Do you think these are good ideas to play as a quarterback? 1 year deal, but specifically, we know Dak is hurt. We've seen this before. Dak was hurt a couple years ago, and he got injured, and then they paid him after he got injured. But he
bought out. He bought out. Yeah. See, I think that plays a little bit back into that top 10 list, man, because Aaron Rodgers, we wouldn't place in that top 10 because of 1 year. Him being hurt. Yeah, he wasn't great, that last year in Green Bay as well, but he was still Aaron Rodgers as far as throwing the ball. You know, maybe not to what the playmaking was for the talents around and meshing with the receivers, but he was still making Aaron Rodgers type throws. So, you know, when we take him out of there, man, and considering if a quarterback like Tua this offseason should try like a boy, are you suggesting like a franchise tag from the Dolphins?
They'll need something because
I
uh,
mean, for Tua's sake, I mean, it's like somebody like Tua, man. I'm a fan of Tua. I'm a fan of Tua. And hearing a lot of what you're saying about Trevor Lawrence, man. I think with Trevor Lawrence, his situation is I don't think he's as bad with the Jaguars as it may have been. And that's because they're starting to Calvin really didn't work out. But Christian Kirk has been there for a few years now, and Christian Kirk has been working well with Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne had a pretty good year last year. I think he might have a little bit banged up, but he played most of last season, and they have a backup Tank Bigsby. Watch out for Tank Bigsby, man. They got a run game that can support Trevor Lawrence. Right now, their receivers are what's less proven. Even Evan Ingram, their tight end, former New York Giant, got to give a shout out to Evan Ingram, man is over there, and that was one of his best seasons that he's had in the last 3 or 4. So he's getting positive play as far as the skill position players there. That's why I feel like Trevor Lawrence's situation might be a little hazy coming off Urban Meyer's first year there, and I'm kind of recovering from that and lacking the talent on the roster, at least on offense, because their defense is pretty good. Um, Olukun, their linebacker, is an
Miami's in a
all-star
short window.
in the making right there.
I think
Um,
Miami's in a short window. They're going to have to figure out if they're going to keep Tua or trade for a better quarterback. I think
yeah,
Dak is going to stay with Dallas.
Miami's window feels a little tighter. I think with Tua, he's had some good years.
And some serious injuries.
Before he got, after he got hurt and everything, coming off of when he got hurt and he tried to start playing out. Even the year before last, man, he was on pace to almost have 2,000-yard receivers. If you look finer into the numbers and maybe fluff up a little things here and there, maybe some better games for like Waddle later in the season. But for a while, man, Tua was on pace to have, Tyreek at 2,000 and maybe Waddle at like 1,700 yards in passing. I think with McDaniels and Tua have a good combination going right now. A lot like, the old school Giants runs where the team is really what pushes the whole thing through. I think for Tua right now, he has to kind of evaluate if the situation right now is really good for him with McDaniels, since McDaniels and him mesh so well, not only in the play calling, but McDaniels has been a great support for him and building his confidence.
They've been trying to get rid of Tua since he got there. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They got the coach McDaniels. I think the biggest issue with Tua's going forward in his contract is a lot of games they win are against subpar teams. They haven't been able to beat quality teams. And
And
then
cold weather
they
games too.
and cold weather. I was just about to bring that up. They haven't been able to beat cold weather teams, even when it's not snowing, just when it's cold. So the team is built for Miami and Miami. That's it. California, stuff like that. But when it comes to cold weather, they're not be able to get that passing game going. They're not be able to put up the 30, 40 points that they're used to doing at home. The team scored 50 points a couple of times, and you go to a team like Buffalo and they score 13, 14, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't travel. I can
Even
understand.
when they played us, man.
Yeah, I can understand you say, well, it's snowing, it's raining, it's not. No, it's just cold, and cats just don't know how to perform. And that is not how you're going to go to another level when you're playing teams. A lot of these teams, especially North teams, outside. You play in New England, you play in Green Bay, you play in Buffalo, you playing in Baltimore. These are not dome teams, and you have to win some of these games when it's raining. You got to win some of the game when
Yeah.
it's snowing. You got to win some of the game when it's cold, and when you're trying to go to the next level, and you can't do that, it falls at the feet of the quarterback. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is man, when you think the cold weather thing that plays, I watch a lot of these games and, I keep up as good as I can and everything. And you do want to take into those smaller analytical things, but we can't sometimes with the analytics kind of blurries what we actually see out on the field. Because analytics can't tell you what's going to happen on the game. You know what I'm saying? Analytics can tell you a likelihood of something happening, but that ain't no guarantee. And like the analytics are based on what happens on the field, right? The stuff on the field has to take place first before we get the analytics to discuss what goes around it. This goes to the cold weather thing. The AFC in general, there's a lot of cold weather teams.
All
The
mainly,
AFC
yeah.
is a cold weather conference, period. When you look at it, the warmer teams are in the NFC from your Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay, San Fran, uh, even somebody like Seattle doesn't actually get, full on cold weather like that all the time. Yeah. So when you look at the AFC with your Cleveland Browns, your Pittsburgh Steelers, your Bills, even if a team like Miami is to get past an individual team like the Patriots or the Bills or the Jets, they still have that chance of running into in the championship game something like a Pittsburgh Steelers in the cold weather, Kansas City Chiefs, Cleveland Browns in the wintertime, you
It's
know.
crazy because all they
Yeah.
have to do if they just switch their style up. If it's typically when it's raining and cold and muddy, you just say, okay, we just go run the ball. And even the games they run the ball well, they still don't win the games. It's like they're so pass dominant, and for whatever reason it affects them. And sometimes it's, I remember when I hated Bill Belichick and those guys, but they would literally practice in the cold and practice with different type of balls, different type of scenarios to saying it's going to rain all day Sunday. So we have to simulate these things in practice. It's going to be 0 below. We have to simulate these things right now. We can't wait until we get there and realize we can't feel our hands. The ball is too hard. The ball is too wet.
It's not like Miami can go practice in a meat freezer
Yeah,
somewhere,
we have to
and practice
simulate
these things out.
you can't simulate the
Yeah.
things in Miami when it's 100 degrees. So you have to figure that out.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's the thing though, man, because now just because we do talk about the cold weather games, these hot weather games affect these cold weather games or these cold
I
weather
remember the
teams
Bills
too.
lost
Being
because
in New York, down here, or down and or over in California or down in Florida weather, yeah, that could be a problem for them too. So you do account that, but it's not like I don't know if the same type of narrative around Tua and cold weather games is out for QBs in warm weather games. You know what I'm saying? Like if the temperature's 70 degrees or 80 degrees or more, this QB is not as great. I don't think it's, is that narrative is really out there as much. Uh
you see more teams struggling when it comes to like Denver and the mile high breathing and stuff like that. You see more
yeah,
teams
yeah,
struggling when it comes to that. Um, than the
yeah.
Heat a lot. But you do have mine because I
It
remember
does.
the
It
Bills
does happen
struggling.
though when they're sitting there and they're blowing wind on the sidelines on the ventilators. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That,
Remember when the
that
Bills played Miami a couple of years ago and they were on the side, the visitor side is all on the sun.
all in the
They
sun.
struggle.
Yeah,
They struggle.
yeah.
So I remember, but yeah, it happens a lot when it comes to cold and rain. But yeah, Denver definitely has an effect on players and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, we have to, you know, it's not it's not far off to say that even if a run format. This is why when we talk about it, right? We don't want to make it seem like Tua would never be able to win in Miami in a cold weather game because the game has to be played. And there's no chance if they were to make it to that conference game and they were the better team, well then now they're not playing in a cold weather state. you know.
That's the thing. They
And
have to
then the
win
Super
some
Bowl as
games.
well. The Super Bowl is in a dome sometimes, a lot of times now. It's not always out, and we don't see snowed out Super Bowls because of broadcasting and advertising. They want to make sure everybody can see the game right. So there's not something to say that it being a possibility for Tua with the Miami Dolphins if he were to stay for them to have success in a late playoff run push. With Dak's contract, though, I think Dak's contract, so we could touch on that a little bit. With the Cowboys, Dak has been good. Dak has not been a bad quarterback. Dak has probably been the best quarterback in the NFC East for the last 8 years, 6 years, however long he's been in. Jalen Hurts has been good and has gone further in the playoff. At the Super Bowl appearance. But I wouldn't say that Jalen Hurts is quite the quarterback that Dak is. And that Hurts probably is looking at taking that kind of Lamar Jackson leap, if you understand what I'm saying there. Where Lamar Jackson was a little talked about with his passing and being too reliant on his run game. Jackson in his MBV run, man, he buckled down in his passing and improved his passing numbers. And I think that's where Jalen Hurts now is at in his game, um, is where he's at that Lamar Jackson phase where you saw Lamar Jackson improve on his passing number. Jalen Hurts, can you improve on yours? Dak is already that player. He's just less mobile. So Dak is, a deserving of a contract probably with the Cowboys.
Dak should get paid. The issue with the Cowboys has always been Jerry Jones. But the concern I have is it's July. The season starts in September, and this man is in a walking boot, which means he hasn't been able to practice. He hasn't been able to.
Hey,
He hasn't been able to pivot
look,
right. Someone is going to
let's
take.
let's
You
let's
can
let's
say what
let's
you
let's
want. They don't play in
let's proper
preseason.
context. So he said that he was just in that walking boot because he did a little workout,
Do you
some
have a
intense
walking boot
workout,
on
and he
there?
wanted to make sure he was good.
Do you have a walking boot on there? Do I
I
have a
didn't
walking
go.
boot on there?
I didn't do squats. I didn't do 300 pound, 400 pound squats,
Oh
Biggie. I
man,
didn't go on mountain hikes, for 8 and 5 miles, Biggie. So I
man
can't
had to
say.
play the game in 5 months, or 4 or 5 months, and all of a sudden, 2 months before the season started, the man has a walking boot on, and then he wants to tell us we shouldn't be concerned. I'm like, yes, we should be really concerned because one, you don't have a contract besides this year, and who's to say he's going to be ready for obviously, I'm assuming he's going to be ready for game one, but we don't know that. 2 months from now, typically these players don't play in preseason. So what you going to
Yeah,
play? Game four, 10 snaps?
yeah,
Game three, 3 snaps? What are we doing?
yeah. Dak's a warrior, man. Dak's a warrior. Ever since Dak came back from that broken femur, and because there was a time where it looked like, he's not quite the same player he was
Right.
for that, I feel, but he's still most of it. He was never always the most mobile or running quarterback. I think they discussed that on one of these talk shows earlier about a mobile quarterback compared to like a running quarterback. Dak isn't a running quarterback.
Right.
He's a mobile quarterback. He likes to move around the pocket, get outside, throw the ball, and Dak keeps doing that. That's why I say it's Hill. I don't know how much it would affect him as somebody like Lamar Jackson or my boy here, Daniel Jones, since he's more of a running quarterback and a mobile quarterback as well. With his ACL, we do have concerns about him bouncing back properly from that. With Dak, I
You
don't think
injured this
his running
in the
is that
offseason.
that much of a stress on it.
Being in a walking boot in July and trying to run from a 300-pound man in September, not the best
Hey,
thing for your team, specifically when you
hey,
want to be the
it's the
fourth.
Cowboys. So whatever happens for the Cowboys outside of injuries and
I
stuff,
mean, I'm
I
on it
can't.
too.
I don't mind.
I mean,
Go
this
ahead, Dak.
Cowboys is a circus. I'm like, to me, another thing is like, if you know you have a walking boot on, why are you in the public like that? You know that's a concern. You know that's a concern, not just for the fans. That's a concern for everybody. You have opportunity to say, I want a contract. You think Jerry don't know you in a walking boot? You think Jerry's advisors don't know you in a walking boot? They looking at your medical record and saying, okay, we go get out the walking boot in a month, walking boot in
Yeah,
3 weeks. You don't go from walking boot to running tomorrow. There's a transition. There's physical therapy. There's rehab. There's so many steps to that. So I do believe he's deserving of a contract. I think Jerry's going to have to give it to him because he's no bridge. He doesn't have a backup quarterback that can get him 2 years of regular success till you get
yeah,
another draft pick. Jerry's going to say,
yeah.
let's just give him, and then you can always trade him. Dak is always tradable. If Russell Wilson can still have a
Dak has always been pretty much
tax,
tradable as far as his performance. Yeah, I mean, I
and
think that's the Cowboys. I feel what you're saying a lot of that. You know, the Cowboys though, man, I can only use the New York Giants as a prime example of what you don't want to be, and as far as with your QB, and Dak isn't that. Dak is a way better player. He's proven. He's been a
durable.
leader, stat leader in the league, man, offensive, number one offense type stuff, passing. As far as the quarterback that Dak is, I think is, whatever you might put his ceiling at, his highest ceiling at in a playoff situation. He's proven enough to where the concerns for Jerry should only really be the heel, if it's going to be something. You know what I'm saying? Not about giving him the money. Um, I don't think Dak now is a $60 million quarterback, but I myself don't know if any quarterback is really a $60 million player, or if any player is a $60 million, or if a receiver is a $40 million receiver. You know what I'm saying? Type of stuff like that. I don't know if the league is that saturated enough to say that to where
Quarterbacks are getting paid. They're getting overpaid to me because
they're
I,
getting
I
paid
watch
crazy pay.
I watch Tom Brady take pay cuts year after year after year to make sure the Patriots invest in the team. And he gave a blueprint on how these quarterbacks can maneuver and still get paid. He was able to get his real money when Tampa, and then he was able to still get a championship. Now, throughout the times in New England, he was able to say, okay, I'm gonna take a pay cut, let's invest in the defense. I'm gonna take a pay cut, let's
Let's
make
not
some.
discount that before you on that Brady did have a significant other with a very
It got
significant
nothing to do.
income of
It
their
got
own.
nothing to do with that. If you
Okay,
want
not
to win
everybody
championships,
has
I agree
the
with that.
number one or a number one model, international model as
If
a significant other that's providing a income to the household in such levels.
if any
Okay,
one of these
not that
guys was to take
beautiful
$30
women out
million,
there, of course, all these players have, but just saying.
the average quarterback, these big contracts are 40, $50 million. Any one of them take $20 million, wife or not. You can live off $20 million. But if I take $20 million and I know the other $20 I'm gonna get is going to be invested in the offense, going to be invested in the defense, and it gives us a better chance to win a championship, specifically to build a team that can compete for a championship. That's the difference. I also don't think these teams are structured like that. I don't think the league is structured like that. Lamar Jackson's not going to take a pay cut to see if you invest in the team because I can't trust you like that. You look at how these
Yeah,
treat some of these players when it comes to contract negotiations. They basically kick you to the side and then, okay, we'll bring you back because we can't find your replacement in that. So
you ain't got
I
to tell
think
me,
Tom
man.
Brady had a relationship with Robert Kraft, the owner, a direct relationship. So he knew that, okay, I'm going to take this pay cut, but you have to make sure that this team is invested in. I don't know if any specific quarterback as the top 10 or 15 quarterback can say, I have a relationship with the owner, the GM, the president. When I'm going to take this pay cut, I know you're going to hire these wide receivers. I know you're going to trade for these running backs or whoever, these defenders. I think Tom Brady was in a unique situation, but I think that blueprint is still
Yeah.
able to be made because I think any team wants to win a championship, wants to compete for a championship. You're making money hand over fist whether you win or not, but to actually compete for a championship and with the Patriots competing over a long period of time, I think any quarterback should take that blueprint.
But that's the question though. Is what do you know, we understood the time that the era that Brady played in. You know, contracts were not the same contracts they are today. So even translating that, you know, what price tag is on a contract that would be comparable to what Tom Brady um practiced himself when he was quarterback for the Patriots? Because that's what I was saying. I don't know if there's really a $60 million quarterback out
We
there.
get
Like
there.
that's
We
you're
get
talking
there.
ridiculous prices because there is so much more that I could get, where there is so much more that a team could get if they were to try to placate other positions like they do with the quarterback positions, skill position players, defensive line players, safeties, mainly players like that a lot of times, like your safeties, your linebackers, your running backs, maybe that even O-line guys like the guards, that just are the types that teams treat with the least amount of value when it comes to keeping them on the team or challenging them, other teams from snatching them up in contract talks. They don't really push as hard to give these guys the type of dollars they ask for
And those are
before
the
they
teams that are
go.
winning
You
championships.
know,
From
because
offensive
and that's
line,
not to say they
defensive.
can't review because the draft is every year, and there's talented players in college level and things like that. But still, when you're trying to build a culture and a respect amongst the players that they understand that they can come play for this team, be their best on the team. The team tell them stuff, how we value and want you here, all time great, gold, ring of honor. And then you get to the contract situation, like you said, man, and they act like the dollars aren't there. When a lot of times dollars are there, but it's been choices they made at other positions, and it's probably the QB position most right now that is the most stringent part on a team's salary cap, that they feel like they have to pay these players 50 plus million, 55 plus million now, and is where it's heading. And that just sucks up a lot of the cap. It just sucks up a lot of the cap. And if the players aren't the position player, the quarterbacks aren't going to be playing, $60 million ball to whatever that's supposed to be,
Most of them are.
then that's crazy. It's crazy because speaking of Daniel Jones' contract here, we might speak on it more as we get a little further and try to end this off. Yeah, it's you get a situation like that, man. He's the best example. And you pay a quarterback just because he's in the position that he's in, and the play, he's a special case because his play has never really been there. And that's what separates him when we talk about somebody like Dak, man, or even somebody like Tua. Tua's got good years. Dak's got good years. So not to talk about Daniel and his bad years, it's just, okay, you have an example of a player with some bad years who got a contract. And then now what do you do for all these players who are so much better than him? And some of them might be so much better than him that now you're talking about contracts that are in a $60 million range. Yeah, 60 plus million. I mean, 3 years, 5 years, we might be talking 65, 70 million.
100 million. Who's going to be the first $100 million?
Yeah. Who's going to be? That's only so many years away because the revenues go up, or until the people run out of money because we're the ones giving them the money that makes the revenues go up. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't say it's not me, but I definitely bought NFL Sunday tickets, so I'm definitely part of the problem. I'm saying so.
Well, we're all part of the problem. We're part of the addiction, man. There are pushers, okay? They pushers. We are the fiends, the addicts out there. You know what I'm saying? Whenever we go through 6 months of no football or whatever months of no baseball, you're that guy. So it's that they notice. But as far as how they treat the players, I think the fans now are a little more hip to the game to when we see players get shafted on contracts that we're less inclined to be company people. You know what I'm saying? I think the players are asking for too much, even though they are making income way past what normal most people in civilization, civilized economies are making. Yeah.
All right, last topic. Hard Knocks offseason with the Giants. Season 1, episode 3 comes on tomorrow. What is your review on the season so far?
Well, I will be the foremost person on this as these last few episodes come out. So I appreciate you coming to the source for or one of these sources, because I don't claim all of the Giants fandom. I am as blue as it gets. If I need a reminder though, I am with the fandom and I am for the fandom. Like it or hate it, it's as blue as it gets. But it's not a good look, baby. It's not a good look, man. It's a great show now. If you haven't seen it, anybody who's watching this right now, if you haven't checked out Hard Knocks off season with the New York Giants at HBO Max, find out a way to get in. You might be able to subscribe just to HBO Max itself and have access to it. Sign up for a couple months, but it's been pretty good. It's a change up from what we normally see because they normally do the player side. The off-season side, we're getting in-house front office GM talk, assistant GM talk, scouting coaches, scouts talk. Yeah, the biggest things from it are pretty much the Saquon Barkley contract from this offseason. And probably in the draft, the Giants kind of showing signs that they wanted to move up and trade with the New England Patriots at 3 to draft Drake May to potentially replace Daniel Jones, quarterback for the Giants. I'm going to say that hasn't been a good look.
Do you think they should have did
just
that?
because it
You think
started.
they should have made that deal?
I'm sorry, say
You
again.
think they should have made that deal?
Oh, absolutely. I can't lie. I am a Saquon Barkley guy. I was one of his big fans. But I am also a position player, running back guy too at the same time. So it's only natural that Saquon being on my team, I was going to try to root for him and look out for what they would do in the contract. If you're not in the know for the Giants, but what a team that has nothing on it but 1 or 2 players on it looks like, then you know what the Giants have been for the last 4 or 5 seasons, man. He's pretty much been the offense. He was the engine that ran. As hurt as he might have been, he's missed games, but the same quarterback that they decided to pay in DJ missed just as many games as him. So, this is when it gets funny around the contract talks again, like we were
Money with
saying,
the money.
and these front offices talking to players. There's a lot of interesting footage because I guess I'll just touch on the biggest part is the conversation that took place between the GM and Saquon Barkley and his agent. Because throughout the episodes that we've seen so far, Joe Shane, the GM for the Giants, has acted very nonchalant about the running back position's value to the game. And in that turn, he'd be kind of poo-pooing on the value of Saquon Barkley to the team. And that's just real talk. If there's any Giants fans that are watching this, they probably might have a different opinion about it. But I guess a lot
League
of that
right
would be
now,
dependent on how they feel about him being on the team. Saquon being drafted, number 2, is where a lot of that usually stems from.
the league
But
right
he's always
now
been a good.
devalues running backs. They don't really want to pay running backs. They believe
Yeah.
durable at the
They
end.
had him. The thing is, man, they gave him a contract last year of 12.5 million. But for 3 years. But if we're looking at the franchise tag number for a running back right now is 11.9 million. And offer of 12.5 million that they just sit on the table from last year after all the taxes and agent fees and whatever else is done is only about 400,000, maybe a little bit more than that, 450,000, which is not a small sum to Saquon Barkley. And I wouldn't think just seeing his time here and him just grinding through all the losses and the injuries and the talk, why that would really entice him enough to want to stay here. And that's pretty much what had happened. As far as him being on the Eagles, that's on the Giants, man. They didn't GM and the Giants itself, because they didn't value him and they didn't figure somebody else would want him, like some dummies that another team would value a running back like Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, whomever else, Josh Jacobs, and that they would end up on another team. So he's on the Eagles, and we're going
You
to
think
hope
they should have
around
moved
that
up
this year.
and drafted a quarterback?
Do I think they should have moved up for Drake May? I don't think they had to necessarily move up to select a quarterback, is what I'll say. I wasn't very much in line with moving up in this draft because we needed so much, and because we would have to give up so much more to even get a quarterback that we would not necessarily want to put out there as soon as possible, because we wouldn't be able to, because we've had problems with pass blocking and skill position players. There's just understanding our talent level there. But I say it myself, man, we can't skill position players. We can't really explain what we've seen out of them because the quarterback play has been kind of shaky these last years. But we could talk about the pass blocking. And if they're going to draft a quarterback who's just going to get blasted, then that's pointless. So
And you cannot
should they
have
have drafted him?
a man making $100 million on
No, I think they made a fine decision drafting Malik Neighbors. But I do think there were other options outside of Drake May that they could have drafted, and them options aren't named JJ McCarthy. I'll say that.
But also look at it like this:
Or
you can't have a guy on the bench making $100 million. You got to play it. So if you draft a quarterback and Dan Jones is healthy, whether it's week 6, week 8, whenever, who knows? He says he might be ready for week 1. You have to play that guy. You cannot draft a quarterback and then have a quarterback, circus with the guy that makes $100 million. Guy makes $100 million, he has to play. Now, obviously, we've seen guys who make $100 million that didn't play, but usually it's because they're either injured or their play was so bad it affected the team. That is typically the only time you do not you have a guy that you're going to bench making $100 million. They did it with Russell Wilson last year with the Broncos, but they did it because they're trying to run him out of town. You don't really want a guy to making a lot of money sitting on the bench because your investment is just sitting there and hold the clipboard.
Yeah, well, that comes sitting on the bench, man, and that is, if you can get episodes, man. Joe Shane made the statement that they didn't pay Daniel Jones $40 million to hand the ball off to a $12 million quarterback. Okay, but now Saquon Barkley is a $13 million running back, having the ball handed off to him from a $50+ million quarterback. So you see, the Giants don't make any sense. And that's been the problem, man, because they can't be a team like a San Francisco 49ers or like even the Dallas Cowboys or Philadelphia Eagles or shit, man. At this point, is are the Houston Texans becoming that type of team, that type of franchise who knows how to acquire mad talent
Looks
and
good.
keep them all together? And, even though their talent's a little younger now with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, of course, but they brought in Stephon Diggs. They brought in Stephon Diggs. Um, that's where the Giants are right now is I heard a couple other guys say this, maybe Lombardi, Michael Lombardi. He says the Giants have a problem understanding how to acquire talent and not just thinking that you get position players. They've lost understanding what they're trying to build as their vision of a team. And that doesn't just mean being a smash mouth running team, but or a passing air raid type team, but just understanding talent evaluation and talent position, you know.
You look at these teams that are disrespecting the running game, and every single one of them get to the playoffs and they lose games. You look at Philadelphia, got to the playoffs, couldn't run the ball, didn't run the ball, and they lost. Off season, they wouldn't go get a running back. These teams that want to move on from the running game and want to move on from running backs have to realize the NFL was built on the backs of running the ball. Running the ball. Whether you get a whole bunch of passers with the new way the league is set up with all these rules that they do, you can't, hold and all this other stuff. Yes, it's all cool and bad. You can run the ball in the playoffs, but you still have to run the ball. You have to know that you have to have the backbone of the old school NFL. You can't just pass the ball every down. You can't pass the ball on short down and distance. You still have to have a solid running back. I understand if you don't want to have a consistent running back, but really running back from committee doesn't work as much as it used to be.
Well, yeah.
Used to
Mhm.
work as much now.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's not just the Giants from in
The league
my
problem. It's a
point of view,
league
my
problem.
perspective when it comes to the run to how they treat running backs. Because even you know, yeah, is having just one running back take 25 plus 30 touches a game still the thing? No, not really ish, but that's only because they treat the position, they desire the position to be more dynamic than what it has been in the past. Even though you have somebody like a Mark Henry, I'm sorry, Mark Henry, Derrick Henry, Mark Henry, he's wrestling. Derrick Henry, who's more of a pure runner, or like a Nick Chubb, who's more of a pure runner. Those guys are still, even though they're pure runners, they're just so much better pure runners than everybody else, so that they still are highly sought after running style of running backs. But in general, they now these teams are drafting your Behan Robinsons, your Jameer Gibbs, your Josh Jacobs, looking for more of that out of guys. Despite their size and builds, to be able to not only run the ball, but to be able to catch out of the backfield. And that does, when we talk about the passing, how they want to be so emphasized on the passing, man. It's only because we have our Patrick Mahomeses, and maybe our Aaron Rodgers is a little bit, but maybe more so like our Peyton Mannings as they take. But it's different because Peyton Manning was a different type of quarterback. He was out there auto-billing, switching this up, switching that up, moving guys here. Well, to now, Patrick Mahomes' game isn't so much that. His game is a little more dynamic of playmaking within the structure of the offensive play call. A little more so, not to say he's not, cooking it up out there and shit. But yeah, the emphasis on the pass game has made them kind of misjudge and mischaracterize the value of the RB position, especially because when they do get down to the Super Bowl winning teams, also don't have number one paid or top paid running backs. So you do say that, running teams or teams that take no running into a playoff lose in the playoff because they got no running. They do try to say that even teams that have top running backs don't necessarily win, which is true,
That's
but
true.
doesn't mean that
Kansas
you just
City still
ignore
runs the
having a
ball.
player talent out there.
Kansas City will run the ball when they need to. Now they do a lot of clowning back there. I don't like all that pass.
Yeah, Pacheco is not no bum. Pacheco is not no bum.
They will
Pacheco runs the ball.
run the ball, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
Well, there
yeah,
you go. There's a good conversation on Let's Talk Sports. We will be in touch. Thank you for as blue as it gets, and we'll be in touch. Peace.
yeah. My boy Biggie Man from Biggie Knows Best right here.
We're not,
Until he accepts it, whenever he finally accepts it, stops giving out his government and stuff.
we're
We're
not
gonna switch it out. I'm sure your fans will be like, yeah. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, I like Biggie Knows Best. You should call yourself that now, Biggie. They're gonna be like, yeah, we didn't know.
going to change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
y'all.
it's been cool though, man. We're gonna try to make this a thing here. Whenever we can, just get together, maybe add another element into it, so it's even more representation on where we come from, and representing where we come from and showing that uh, there's a lot of good from the
Especially
Rock
after
and
the
that
season picks up.
long standing friends doing this, and
Yeah, especially
yeah,
after the NFL season picks up, we'll be able to have more contents like that. So
yeah, definitely. We'll try to get into the NBA stuff too, of course. Maybe a little baseball. We didn't touch on any baseball stuff. They have a home run derby
Yankees suck.
tonight,
I'm
right?
watching the home run derby right now. Yankees suck. Don't worry about baseball. We'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah,
Yankees are
yeah,
trash. We're actually
yeah.
in second place. We're not that bad, but it's bad enough. We were in first place most of the freaking first half, and we having issues with Baltimore. But don't worry about that.
Well,
We'll
you're not
talk
the
about baseball
Giants.
once
But
they're
as
time.
long as any sports franchise, as long as you're not the Giants, you're
Once
doing
the,
pretty good for yourself.
once the Yankees start
Okay,
winning,
okay, we suck. We're terrible. We're
that's what
terrible.
you
Freaking
got.
terrible ass team.
All your
I
chips
fucking hate it.
on the Giants this season. All your chips. Chips in the middle of the table. You never know what can happen. Season, everybody's 0-0.
I
Everybody.
know what's gonna happen. This man has to play like all-star Aaron Rodgers, MVP Lamar Jackson to save his job.
Dak is in a
Is he gonna do it?
freaking
I don't
walking
know,
boot
man.
in
I
Washington.
really, yeah, I don't even
Sucks.
care. Rather, he
You got
better
two
not
teams
ruin
you don't
our
have to
Malik
worry about.
Davis.
You
Oh,
got
we
two
didn't even
teams
talk
you don't have
about
to worry
Malik
about.
Davis, man. Yeah, wide receiver, man. We'll get into some draft stuff. We got time before the season kickoff, so we'll try to talk about maybe the teams next time and some of the draft picks they made and how we think they might change those teams. You feel me?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Peace.